Hey guys, welcome. Told you I was going to talk about the tools that we used and the mistakes that we made when we were doing the shop build. If you haven't seen the shop build video, I'm going to post a link up at the top. If you have, I hope you enjoyed it. Anyway, let's get started. So you're going to want to get yourself some toe straps and some ratchet straps, which I don't have. Tom, can you bring those over? Here, champ, get out of the way. Get out of the way so Tom can get over here. All right, so Tom has a ratchet strap and the toe strap. The toe straps are going to come in very handy for when you're unloading things, when you're putting your post up and just moving some of the heavy metal around. The ratchet strap you're going to need when you're putting your post up. You're going to want to keep them upright. So you're going to build a crosshatch pattern in them using ratchet straps. That will help you kind of tweak them as well when you go to put your girts on. So I appreciate it, Tom. Hey, what does Tom stand for anyway? The other me. The other me. That's funny. So tape measures are going to be invaluable through the whole process. Get yourself some good ones. The ones with the little magnetic clasp are nice, especially if you're doing a metal frame building. If you already got tape measures, just use those. Learn how to do the 3, 4, 5 method of squaring, where you basically pull, 3 feet, 4 feet, and then across it will be 5 feet. And of course, you can use any numbers to do that. There's easy calculators that will help you to determine that, but that's a great way to find square or 90 on corners. Next, you're going to want spud wrenches. Spud wrenches are the wrenches that have a point on the end of them. If you've always wondered what these are for, it's so that you can align holes up and then put your bolts in. These will come in very handy when it comes to doing all sorts of the framing of your building. Put these in your holes, line them up, and then you'll be able to match up other holes. You want to get yourself different levels. These ones have the little magnets on them, which came in very handy. So I've got a 2 foot, I got a 6 foot. Use them all the time. Make sure that your building stays level as you're constructing it, because then it will finish level. If it doesn't start level, you're not going to get it level. We also used the laser levels a good bit, especially when we were running the outside skin of the building. It helped us to keep it nice and plumb. And then another valuable tool were these digital angle gauges. These are Kleins. We were putting the post up. I would put one on one side and one on the other side, and we were able to get close to square with these, or plumb I should say, and it helped a lot. The main framing of the building doesn't require a ton of tools, but it does require a lot of elbow grease. When you start getting to the insulating and skinning and things like that, that's where you're going to use a bulk of a lot of these tools. When it comes to the insulation, we ordered a package from Bay Insulation. They have offices all across the United States and very easy to work with. I sent them the plans. They sent me a quote. They sent me the insulation package that had everything labeled, everything pre-cut. They included the double-sided tape that I needed. They included some seam tape, or if I had a rip, tape for all of that. It basically had everything that I needed. I did order some more of the double-sided tape. This stuff is awesome. This is by a company called Echo Tape, and I ordered several rolls just to use around the shop and for everything. It's kind of like carpet tape. It's a thin tape, and I love the stuff. Very strong. And when you start doing the insulation, you're going to need a good set of scissors and some good razor knives. Make sure you buy lots of extra blades, because they do dull quickly when it comes to the insulation. The way the insulation goes up, you'll put a roll up using the double-sided tape to mount it to the top, let it drop to the bottom, and then you're going to do your seam tape down the side. We took all of our insulation, laid it out, and did the tape first, and then once we got it up, we were able to pull the protective coating off and then line up the others as it went along. We did run the double-sided tape for a while, and that would help stick it up. We would hold it up, and then I had to take and cut the insulation off, leaving the vinyl or plastic, and then that folds over. That keeps moisture out. It's especially important on the bottom because you don't want water to wick up into that insulation. So now you're ready to put your panels on. The first thing that you're going to want to do when you're putting your panels on is to pre-drill. That way your screw holes are already there and are in perfect alignment with each other. The last thing that you want to do is try to guess on that, and your screws are doing this down the side of the building. Having a good straight screw line will make it look professional, and it'll also ensure that you're hitting the girts on the back side. Before you do put the metal up, you're going to want to block your girts. And what that means is the beams that run side to side. Get you some 2x4s, cut them a little longer than what the length of the or the height between the girts is, and then you can wedge it just enough to get those perfectly level. That's going to make it nice for your screws to hit. It's going to make it nice when you're on the inside framing out, and it's also going to give a better appearance. You don't have saggy metal inside of your building. I did use this here. I'm not exactly sure what it's called. To me, it's like an old thing truckers use when they're trying to pack their trucks. It has a brake handle style thing on it that you can just pump with your hand, and it will extend this rod out. And that worked really well for getting underneath the very first girt and lifting that up to nice and level. And then we use 2x4s on the rest. So before you put your metal up, you'll want to pre-drill it. Like I say, you'll want to stack your metal together. You're going to take and clamp it with some clamps. That way it doesn't shift on you. And then you're going to drill it with, I believe, like an 1/8 inch or maybe a 3/16 inch drill bit. And then when you get done drilling, use a brush, wipe that excess metal off. The metal does turn magnetic with you screwing it and drilling it, so you'll want to keep those metal shavings off at all times because it will rust and cause damage to your building. So get you some brushes, some brooms, and keep all that excess metal off. The type of drills to use are the kind that have the adjustable torque on that. You can use an impact driver, but you just need to use caution with it. The way these screws work, they have a little rubber washer, and you don't want to get too tight because it will deform it and cause leaks in the building. You'll want to get some of the magnetic tips. This is a 5/16. The screws go right in there, and then you're ready to go. You are going to get a lot of metal shavings inside of the tip itself, and you can try to get them out just by using a screw or something. The best method that I found was using double-sided tape. In fact, the insulation tape that was provided, the Echo tape here, worked really well. You just kind of take a little piece off, wad it up, stick it down, and that'll help get those metal shavings out. When it's time to cut your metal, you can use tin snips. You're definitely going to need these throughout the whole process of doing all your trim work and cutting your metal. So get you a right hand, a left hand, and a straight one, and learn how to use them and the proper way that they go. I'm not going to get into that too much. Also, for your long straight cuts, using a metal shear like this worked very well. This worked okay when it came to going over the ridges. Nibbler actually would probably work better. I didn't have one, and I wasn't going to go buy one. So I've got, this is a Bauer version, and it worked great for my project. So these are hand seamers. You're going to use them when you're doing your trim work. You're going to use it to bend your metal. You're going to use it to seam your metal. You're going to use it when it comes time to crimp around your J-trim. So I have a 6-inch version, and this is probably a 2.5-inch version. And you'll just put it on that metal and gives you a good crimp. So the next thing you're going to want is a rivet gun. A lot of your trim requires rivets. So get you, this is the Arrow brand. It worked great for me. I know they make electric ones, things like that. So good rivet gun, and of course the proper size drill bit that goes with that. Again, when you start working on drilling and screwing and all, I'm going to talk about this again, the brush. Make sure you brush off all of your shavings. I know there's some videos out there that say you can use a blower. No, not in my case. So I think I covered all of the tools up here. Really, the most important tool that you're going to have is you. Boy, you calling me a tool? No, I'm not calling you a tool. I didn't think so. What I mean is your mind and your hands and all. I'm not calling you a tool. Get away. Anyway, we're getting into some of the issues that we faced in problems that Tom had as he was building the
That
building.
wasn't me that made them mistakes. That was
Whatever.
you.
Anyway, let's cover some of the issues that we ran into as we were building. Number one, anchor bolts. I read the plans wrong. I didn't realize that the ones on the outsides of the building were different than the ones on the insides of the building. We were off by 2 inches. We didn't discover the problem until we went to put the rafter beams up, and they were 4 inches too far out. We ended up getting lucky. We had the lull. We lifted up the post with all of the girts on it. We're able to take and punch holes in that base and move them in 2 inches on each side. I'll put up on the screen kind of what happened. You can see that they look the same on the initial plan, but when you look at the anchor bolt layout, one's 2 inches and one's 4 inches. One of the other issues that we luckily caught very quickly was on your roof panels. If you have a building that comes to a peak, you want to make sure that you do one panel, one panel, one panel, one panel, and then put your ridge cover on. We didn't do that for about 4 and quickly got out of line. Luckily, we were able to shift it back just by moving 2 panels, but that's one thing that I didn't really see a lot of instruction on, and learned the hard way that you want to put those ridge caps on as you're working your way down the building, because you will get off. Again, most people would pre-measure and put marks, but if you're doing the insulation, that's very hard to do. You can pull tape on each one, but we were kind of limited on the amount of people that were helping. I was on the ground because I just had my back surgery. So anyway, we caught it, we fixed it. Wasn't a huge deal, but that could be a huge deal. Another issue, your side cutoffs on your metal. When you put your side metal on, your plans may tell you that you need to cut off a certain distance off of the edge. I didn't quite pick up on that at first, and we had put down about 4 panels down one side, and then I realized that the ridge was going to land right where one of my framed openings for my doors was. So I went back, read the plans a little bit, and then realized exactly what they were talking about. In my case, I have a 100-foot by 50-foot building. They're 3-foot sheets. So if you do the math on that, they don't line up perfectly. I had to cut 1 foot off to make it to where the seam actually fell outside of where that door framed opening was. What you're trying to accomplish is you have the same amount of distance between the sides of your building where your ridges are. And it's also important when you put your little finish cap metal, I'm not sure the exact term of it, but that trim that goes around the outside, you want to make sure that that's going to fit where your ridges aren't going to cause a problem, because it does come back, kick in, and then sit on the building itself. If there's a ridge there, obviously that's not going to work. That's also very important when it comes to doing doors, your walk doors and your windows. Most of the plans, from my understanding, is they don't have windows and walk doors in the plans because they're like user installed at a later time. You want to make sure that they are laid out perfectly where they don't land on those ridges. Your best bet, and probably aesthetically, would be lined up within those ridges. So do some planning ahead to where those are going to go before you install them, so that when you do your final metal skinning of the building, they look great. That's really the only issues that we ran into, or problems that we ran into, learning mistakes, if you will. So let's go over some of the costs. So Big B Buildings is where I got the main building structure from. That's a company out of Muscle Shoals, Alabama. I have a 50-foot by 100-foot, 16-foot sidewall, and it was $48,000. I also have a 16-foot lean-to that runs off of the side, so there's a lot of extra roofing material and some outside beams that were there. That included the walk doors that I had. I've got 3 walk-through doors. That didn't include the roll-up doors. The recommendation that I received was get the roll-up doors from a local company, because they're going to be the ones to install it, and they're going to want to install the doors that they sell. So the building itself was $48,000. The insulation that I got was from a company called Bay Insulation. I mentioned it earlier. Great company to deal with. They have offices all over the US, and it was $5,280 for that. The roll-up doors I got from the local company. They were $4,900. I had received a quote a couple months prior to when we actually were ready to purchase, and it was about $3,000. So they almost doubled in cost due to COVID and all that. The concrete, I had a concrete company that I actually built a website for a few years before that came out, and they did basically labor only. I paid for the concrete to the concrete company. I paid for the pump truck out of my own pocket. So I paid all materials. They did the labor. My total cost in concrete was about $46,000. The equipment rentals that we had for the lulls, scissor lifts, and the man lift were $6,000. So the total cost of the build was about $110,000. That doesn't include any of the stuff that I did on the inside, any electrical, everything that I'll cover in the next video, where we build out the inside, we put the bathroom in, we did the electrical work, we got the lighting, all of that. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it kind of gave you some insight of the tools that we used, the mistakes that we made. I'll be covering the inside that we did in the next video. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. As soon as that video is posted, you'll be notified. I am working on it. I got a lot of other projects in the works, so once I get them knocked out a little bit, I'll be able to clean up a little and take a video of the inside. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed.